It's interesting because Joe Biden ran on these very big ideas of American democracy and the character of the country.
I sought this office to restore the soul of America, to rebuild the backbone of this nation.
He was far less associated with, policy detail. It's not that he didn't have them, but he just really thought this was an election that was about ideas and ideals. And so there are a lot of outstanding questions about how Joe Biden and Kamala Harris would govern once they take office. I think just given the circumstances in the US right now, inevitably the first big issue that Biden and Harris will have to deal with is the coronavirus and the economy. As far as we know, they'll start with a coronavirus relief package, something to stimulate the economy, depending on where the virus is.
This is going to go away without a vaccine. Could be the testing's frankly overrated. That's all I hear about now. COVID.
I think because Trump has not addressed the virus, they will have a lot of work to do.
I'm not going to shut down the economy. I'm going to shut down the virus.
He has vowed that when he is in office, the experts will guide his response and the science will help him craft his ideas. And that is certainly not what we saw with Donald Trump.
Don't tell anybody, but let me wait till a little bit after the election.
I got a better idea. Elect me and I'm going to hire Dr. Fauci. And we're going to fire Donald Trump.
Biden has identified racism as one of the most urgent crises the nation is facing.
The fact of the matter is, there is institutional racism in America.
In choosing Kamala Harris, that demonstrates what his priorities are and what he thinks the country should value and what the country looks like. Symbolically, that's a statement in and of itself. And then together, they have repeatedly said that they want to ensure that communities who've been targeted by Donald Trump, that they feel welcome and have a seat at the table.
It's time to bring everybody along, no matter your race, your age, your gender, your ethnicity, your sexual orientation, or your disability.
We all have so much more in common than what separates us.
And they'll try to obviously tackle this with serious legislation and rules, but I think part of it is just going to be their language and how they respond. When you have moments like Charlottesville, you won't have a president who said.
But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides.
You will have a president who will forcefully condemn, white supremacist groups. That will just be so different from what we've seen the last 4 years.
I don't care who's in the audience. I'm the least racist person in this room.
Abraham Lincoln here is one of the most racist presidents we've had in modern history.
The Trump administration defending its zero-tolerance policy of separating immigrant children from adults at the border.
President Trump plans to let the program known as Daca end.
Daca protects dreamers, young, undocumented immigrants brought here illegally as children.
Their first priority on immigration is going to be just undoing all of the executive actions that Donald Trump did. They'll end the travel ban to Muslim-majority countries. They're going to end some of these restrictions on legal immigration, and essentially just wipe out what Donald Trump has done through his executive power. There's also a lot of energy around trying to end private detention centers, which really started to grow actually under the Obama administration and has been sort of a source of a real frustration among activists.
So why should voters trust you with an immigration overhaul now?
Because we made a mistake. It took too long to get it right. Within 100 days, I'm going to send to the United States Congress a pathway to citizenship for over 11 million undocumented people. And all of those so-called dreamers, those DACA kids, they're going to be immediately certified again to be able to stay in this country.
They're going to have to go in, they're going to have to work with Congress, which is going to be hard because the election didn't really turn out the way that they'd hoped. Democrats will hold the House, but it's uncertain whether they will win the Senate. That'll be determined by these races in January. So Biden and Harris really have to prepare for what could be a really oppositional Senate, and that is so crucial to passing anything in your legislative agenda. Climate is both hopeful, but also probably going to be the hardest fight.
The impacts of climate change don't pick and choose.
That he will rejoin the Paris Climate Agreement, which Trump removed the US from. That's sort of one big step that Joe Biden can do. But he also has been under a lot of pressure from activists pushing him to do something bigger. Green New Deal is sort of one of the ideas that have been proposed. Biden's plan does not use that language because he thinks it's too divisive, but he has basically proposed something that's very similar. I don't know if that can pass Congress, but it's a good talking point. It's a good starting point for the administration. I think they believe that this is an issue where they can really galvanize Americans. It's after a year in which we've seen record wildfires.
It'll start getting cooler. You just watch.
I wish science agreed with you.
Terrible hurricanes, storms. More and more Americans are living with the reality of climate change, and I think they are hoping that that will be enough to change some minds in Congress.